I'm going to talk about commercialization and strategizing IP to achieve business goals. Well, Mr. Kishore has already covered my background. Right. So the primary misconception which any board has is that IP is just a legal issue. But what I would be covering today is to see how, if used strategically, intellectual property can be the driver of your business. Well, in reality, what a patent actually just gives you is the right to preclude others from using this technology. But does it give you the right to actually use the technology? Right? Does it give you the right? Here I have an example. I have a patent on a wheel which has a hub in the middle, which has a circular rim, and it has spokes. So that's claim 1, claim 2, claim 3. I got this patent because it's novel, it's not obvious, and it has an industrial application. But there is also an underlying patent, which was there, filed by Mr. Bean, which has a hub in the middle, and it has a metal plate instead of spokes, and it has a rim outside. So it's very important for us to understand what exactly does a patent give us. And that's where freedom to operate comes in. You need to understand what are the existing patents and what is the patent space where you have to exercise. All right. Patent value. So coming to what value does a patent have? Number one, as we've already said, it gives you the right to preclude others from using your or this technology. That way you can safeguard yourself from potential infringement. The second one is enforcement value, where you can go ahead and sue others for infringing on your technology. The third one is monetization value, and which we're going to cover in depth, which is through licensing, through industrial collaboration, through joint venture. It could be any kind of values. Now, what are the three fundamental qualities of a patent? What we know is that it has to be novel, it has to be not obvious, and it has to have an industrial application. But I also added in that it has to be easily detectable. How are you going to sue for infringement? How are you going to enforce your patent if you don't know whether your competitor is using your patent technology? So you need to have a patent which is easily detectable. If you have a chipset, right? How do I know which chipset is being used in which phone? So you'll have to develop your technology as such that it's easily detectable. All right, here are some numbers. As we've seen or we've heard that the Indian Patent Office has filed 10,000 patents. Here we have IBM who's been granted 7,440 patents only in the year 2015. This is the kind of numbers that the United States top companies file patents for. What do they do with all these patents? Do you think IBM's commercializing all of the 7,440 patents that have been developed in the year 2015? Well, statistics say that only one patent out of 100 actually get commercialized. What happens to the others? An interesting case here, when we're talking about commercialization, is Qualcomm. Qualcomm in 2012 was facing a lot of difficulties. And what they did was they developed a new model where they started licensing out their technology. In that way, they make 30% of their revenues, which is $8 billion today, just by licensing technologies. Of course, right now they're facing some anti-competitive monopolistic investigation by the FTC courts. But otherwise, I think Qualcomm's the biggest example of commercializing their IP. This is Indian patent filing trends. Okay, sorry. And on the right, we have public research organizations and their patent filing trends. As you can see, CSIR has 200 patents that were filed. And after I dug deeper, I found out that only 2 out of these 200 were actually transferred or licensed out, right? That's 10%. Although it's a big number, That's 1%, sorry. Although it's still a big number compared to 1 out of 100, we're still lagging behind in public research. All right. Now, this particular, what I envisioned is to give you future entrepreneurs, future startups, future technocrats, this tool set where you can actually strategize your IP. And this 4 quadrants is very important. And a lot of companies fail to do this. You'll be surprised how many companies actually fail to separate their core technologies and their non-core technologies. So on the x-axis, we have internal value, which basically means what is your core technology? What is it that you're actually selling, right? Versus what is it that you own? What are the patents you own, and what are you selling? And on the y-axis is the market value. Now, when we're talking about valuation, a lot of people, I think, had this question about how do we value technology, right? I was walking behind, and someone asked one of the startups, what is the economic and financial value of your drone technology? And they couldn't answer this. When we're talking about valuation, what's the value of a technology? We don't have to be an expert. I'm an engineer. I don't have any degree in finance, but I still worked in the valuation field for a couple of years. And today, this was not in the plan, but what I think would be good is if all of us together actually do a small exercise, value some technology.